Joining me now to discuss ABC News White House correspondent Mary Alice Parks and ABC News National Security Defense Analyst Mick Mulroy. So, Mary Alice, what are President Biden's main objectives on this trip?
Yeah, Terry, well, I think that, first of all, he wants to send a message back to China. He wants to say that he is supporting democracies abroad. In a lot of ways, he's going to point back to what's going on in Europe and say, look what happened here. The United States was willing and able to rally partners to support a democracy with a lot of money and a lot of military might. I think they want to send a message like that to China, like you said, that has been sort of increasingly aggressive in the region. And there's obviously an economic bent to this trip as well. Like you said, they're worried about supply chain issues. The American consumer has been thinking so much the last year about just how interconnected all of these economies are. And so it's very obvious that the president is going to try to sort of reinforce these trade deals. And we're going to hear some announcements about that in the coming days, especially when he's in Japan.
So that's the agenda. Mick, let's talk North Korea. It is a de facto of nuclear power now. The United States would still like it, obviously, to give up its nukes. President Trump tried to meet with Kim Jong-un. They wrote love letters to each other. That didn't work. President Biden is not going to go to the DMZ, which is a traditional stop, that border between North and South Korea for presidents. And there's been no comment from North Korea about this trip. What's happening here? You know, do you think North Korea's just decided to ignore this trip? And does the Biden administration have a policy on North Korea?
So, Terry, I don't think they will ignore the trip at all. I think part of what they're doing right now is send some sort of a message to the White House, to the president. But I can't say that the idea that they would give up their nuclear weapons now is very, very slim. They can see the world as it is. Countries that either give up their nuclear weapons, like Ukraine, become very vulnerable from that country's perspective. So I do not, obviously the world will be much better off without North Korea having a nuclear weapon, but from their perspective, the chances that they would go that direction are almost nil.
Yeah, and Ukraine is a good example of a country that voluntarily gave up its nukes, was praised for it, and now is paying the price, they think. So, Mary Alice, President Biden is hoping to lay the groundwork for a new trade partnership, the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework, or IPEF. They've all got abbreviations there. What is this, and what's his message on that?
Yeah, like I was saying, this is new. We still don't have a lot of details. It's largely being pitched as a sort of replacement to the Trans-Pacific Trade Partnership that the U.S. Withdrew from in 2017 under former President Trump. That caused a lot of heartburn in the region, a lot of upset. Japan was a big leader in that, was really frustrated that the U.S. pulled out. It wasn't politically popular back here at home, and so the United States is trying to talk about this new trade deal, this new potential trade deal, as something very different, more modern, less focused on things like cutting tariffs and more focused on strengthening supply chains. But we're only beginning to get rough details. Really, they're trying to use this trip just to say that they want these economic partnerships to be strong and to have some political muscle behind them. Terry.
And maybe not include China. Mick, let's talk about the president's next stop. The president's going to go to Japan. That actually is very interesting to me because he's going to meet with other leaders of the so-called Quad, the Quad. Australia, India, Japan, and the United States. They have formed this partnership, I'm not quite sure what to call it, to essentially face down this rising China. What's at stake during those meetings? Is the Quad a real element in American foreign policy now?
I think it is, and I think they view themselves now more importantly than they did, say, 3 or 4 months ago, as they saw one of the world superpowers willing to invade another country. So I think this is sending a message to China on what they can and can't do, and it really does help the United States to build these strong alliances militarily and economically, just like your discussion with Mary Alice right there. All that works together. It's not done as a vacuum. All this stuff matters. Japan is increasing its capability, something that it hasn't done, obviously, since the end of World War II, as is consistent with their constitution. But they see that they have to be able to defend themselves. And I think part of this is about Taiwan. And Taiwan does have a situation where they could see an invasion by China. And they are also watching very closely. I know right now a lot of things go back to Ukraine, but this does too. They see what a country can do against a superpower if they have the right partners and the right equipment.
And China undoubtedly watching closely as well. Mary Alice, this whole region has been almost a dream of presidents to boost American involvement, boost American engagement, put Asia more to the top of the American agenda, but it seems not to happen. President Obama was about that, even President Bush before the 9/11 attack. And President Biden said, quote, so much of the future of the world is going to be written in that region. So how will this trip secure the relationship? What are his goals in Asia?
Yeah, I think exactly like you said, his goal is to broaden the sort of the world's attention to sort of move beyond what's happening in Europe and to talk about a global fight against aggression, against autocracy. We hear the president grappling with that. He comes back to that in a lot of his speeches, this fight for democracy versus autocracy on a global stage in the years and decades to come. And that fight won't be limited to Europe. That'll be a fight that very much confronts China, that confronts some other Asian countries. And so I think the president, like you said, is looking to have a global conversation about democracy and trying to show that the United States is willing to support democracies across the globe, that kind of support doesn't end with NATO, that kind of support doesn't end with Europe.
It really does feel like it is a brand new world strategically since February the 24th when Russia crossed the Ukrainian border. Mary Alice and Mick, thanks very much.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.